Okay, hello everyone. I'd like to say thank you to Magda for coming on here. We're talking across continents, no, not continents, continents. Countries, maybe.
Countries, yeah.
Yeah, countries. We'll let that one go. We're talking countries here. I thank you for taking the time. You guys just started again, right?
Yeah, today we actually have a day off, but we had 2 days in Monday, Tuesday to train. And yeah, I can definitely feel it in my body. I am sore everywhere.
Is there any rules in England right now? Like, can everybody train at the same time? Or is it like social distancing?
Yeah, so first week we're in small groups of 5. And it's like you have to have 2 meters distance from everyone. So it's no interactions yet.
Okay.
Hopefully next week we'll move into phase 2, they call it. And that's when it's contact and all of that.
And how many times you have to get tested? Once a week?
We're going to get tested twice a week now until the league starts. And then they're going to review it and see if we're going to keep doing it or less or more. Yeah.
And do you guys I've never been tested, but do you guys have to do the nose one or can you do the throat?
Both.
You have to do both?
Both, yeah. But I think the worst nose one I did was in Germany. They really put it up high. It felt like it was in my brain.
Yeah.
Here they're a bit nicer, so it's not all the way up.
Yeah, Bobs just did it on Monday and she says it like feels like it's behind your eye.
Yeah, it must be like not nice.
We're going to get into this, and I usually introduce the guests and I say all your accomplishments, but like I said to you before we start recording, you are the most questioned athlete we've had so far. And with that being said, I think that description of you on and off the pitch will come out at the end, so people can kind of make their own, let's say, not good judgment, but like they can understand at the end just how successful you are and how you have still so much more to succeed, put it that way, because you're still, I say you're in your prime. Well, my prime was 30, so you have a couple more years. Okay, so your name is Magda, yeah? Magdalena, correct me if I'm wrong. However, many people have asked to clear up your last name, or they're confused about the spelling of your last name.
Yeah.
So why are people confused? I don't actually understand this question myself, to be fair.
Yeah, no, this is a very special story. So I myself thought that it was with a C, so Eriksson with a C, for a very long time. So I've said it to everyone, it's with a C, and I've spelled it with a C whenever I write my name. And I think in Linköping on my jersey it was with a C, and also my Twitter account is with a C, and yeah. Yeah, so, but then I think it was the Olympics 2016. I had to have a matching shirt with my passport. They were really strict. And then I remember the administrator in the national team wrote to me and was like, is it with a C or with a K? Because we're confused. And then I started looking at my passport and I was like, it's actually with a K. And since then I've tried to change it to a K, but some people still write with a C, but I'm trying to make it clear that it's the K. Yeah.
Okay, so it's with a K, officially with a K.
Yeah.
Okay, and then that's out of the way. Then can you describe yourself in 3 words?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say humble, empathic, can you say that? Empathic, and winner.
Okay. We have 3 sections: getting into football, club career, and international. And you have to bear with me here. So, getting into football, what is your earliest football memory?
I think it is playing so when I started playing I was 6 years old, and we played five outfield players at the same time, and I think I can just remember those games. It was like small goals and we were all just running after the ball. I can see myself chasing the ball and just wanting to be on the ball all the time. I think that is definitely my friend. That's the games. I think that's the games that I remember most, because that's what I thought was the most fun.
Okay, and who was your role model growing up? They can be with football or without, just in general.
Yeah, I didn't really have any footballing role models when I was really young, but I always just come back to my sister, my older sister, being my role model. She maybe, it wasn't in football, but in every other aspect of life, she was always the one I always wanted to be like her, look like her, be with her, and she didn't want to be with me. So yeah, I think definitely my sister, and she's still one of my biggest role models.
And do you guys look alike or no?
Yeah, some people say we don't. So I think most people would say we look quite similar.
Growing up, did you play in a mixed team? If so, what were the advantages and then also the disadvantages?
No, so I started with boys only. So I started in a boys team, but then I was just 5 years old and it wasn't super structured. But then they started a girls team, and my dad was actually my coach, and it was an all-girls team. And then since then I played with girls team-wise, but I've gone to like schools where I've trained with boys. Okay. And yeah, I think it's really good. It was really good for me to train with boys at that time, because obviously things go at a little bit higher tempo, but it was also nice to confidence-wise feel that, okay, they're not that much better. I can still compete with them, even though they are boys. So I think it gave me some kind of confidence as well.
In your time in Linköping and Chelsea, do ever boys come and train with you guys?
Yeah, we played against boys in Linköping, but actually here in Chelsea, they often bring in boys to training if we need, if they really want us to play 11v11, for example, and we need extra bodies. Last year we had a guy as a goalkeeper who was there basically the whole year training with us and became a part of the team. And it's also really nice, actually. It's a good addition to get in.
Yeah, I mean, not many women can, for example, replicate Wendy Renard, on corner kicks.
Exactly. Then it's perfect if you have a guy there.
Are you naturally left-footed, or is it something you worked on to help you stand out?
No, I am very naturally left-footed, as you probably remember from coaching me.
You're right, actually. It's quite good, but you played the right side before.
Never, only left.
There you go. Okay, I didn't know this about you. Rumor has it that you're handy with the guitar. Do you have any other hobbies you enjoy doing when not playing football?
Yeah, I play a little bit of the guitar, more when I was younger. I really enjoy listening to music. I think I don't know if that's a hobby, but it's really nice to just find new songs, new and old songs to add to my playlists and stuff like that. I also enjoy studying. I don't know if that's called a hobby, but I enjoy just learning things. So even if I'm reading a book, it's not usually like fiction. I like to read like biographies or autobiographies and to learn things all the time. I think that's kind of a hobby of mine.
And golf, right? You Linköping girls all like to play golf.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. Yeah.
You got a BA in political science, or you're finishing it now, or you already have that, your bachelor?
I'm going into my last year.
Okay. And female players have until recently had to rely on second careers to support themselves to play. How difficult is it for female players to make the decision to commit 100% to football? And what could be done to help players moving forward?
Yeah, I think that's still a very difficult decision for everyone. I think for me, growing up, I had a hard time seeing myself as a professional football player. I always had to have like football and the plan B in my mind all the time. And now I can fully focus on football and study because I want to, and not because I have to. But I think still a lot of women football players have to have that that plan B in their minds all the time, and always constantly worry about what am I going to do after my career. And I think it's starting to change more and more because opportunities are opening up in football as well, but it's definitely a factor that maybe forces women to quit earlier than men.
Exactly. And do you know what you want to do with the political science, or is it just it's an interesting subject and you enjoy learning about it?
Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea what I want to use it to. It was more like I enjoy learning about society and how things work, and it was easy to study from distance too. So that's why I chose it. But I think it's good to learn that. I think it's lessons for life, and then I'll see if I use it or not.
Last question to getting into football. If football wasn't an option, what do you think you'd be doing?
Yeah, this is a good question. This is really hard. So I've been I've so many different interests. Like in school, I kind of loved every subject. I was kind of a nerd. So I know I've like writing has always been something I enjoy. So at one point I was into journalism, and but sometimes I also thought I was going to be a doctor. So I've been like all over the place in my mind.
Okay, let's go to club career. I hope you're ready to talk about yourself here. That was just the intro. Okay, when did you sign your first professional contract, and how did that happen?
So that depends on how you define professional contract. I'm not sure.
What to you was your first professional contract? I mean, I know the next thing is you were at Hammarby at 17. Do you feel like that was your time that you went pro, or do you think it was after when you went to Linköping, or what was to you?
Yeah, I think to me, I consider myself professional when I went to Linköping. That's when I could. I mean, I barely made enough money to pay my apartment, but it was still enough so I could focus almost 100% on football. And so I would say when I moved to Linköping. Okay.
So when you went, it's also a thing when you went from Hammarby to Djurgården.
Yeah.
These were rivals. There's two Stockholm clubs.
Yeah.
Do you think the rivalries and derbies in football will ever be important as in men's football? And I think it's probably more about, Linköping, Rosengard, or now at Chelsea, your guys' rival. Do you think it is as big, or more on the international circuit?
I think it is actually. There is really a rivalry between clubs. I felt that in Stockholm. Whenever we played Djurgården or AIK with Hammarby, it was a different type of game. And I've definitely felt it here in London, in Chelsea playing against Arsenal. It is just a different type of game. And you can also feel it in the stands with the fans. So I think that will only grow as the women's game grows and get more fans.
During your 5 years at Linköping, you won everything. Unfortunately, a couple of years I was there, you beat us all the time. But if you could only pick one trophy to keep from this time, which one would it be and why?
I think it would definitely be the first time we won the actual league in 2016. We always had Rosengard as the biggest rivals, and we managed to win the cup, but they always managed to win the league somehow, and it was very frustrating for us. So 2016 was the year where we just felt like everything clicked, everything was just a perfect match, and everyone was at the top of their game, and we managed to win it and just do it the way we did it. I think was the most amazing part of how we could keep our team so well connected and play really good football.
Yeah, that's when I got introduced to all you guys, and we just tried to run after Claudia Neto in the midfield. We couldn't to shut you guys down. Okay, and then you moved to Chelsea. So why did you move, and why the number 16?
I kind of came to a point in my career where I felt like, is this it? Or can I get any better? I felt like I was reaching a point where I wanted to do something more. I wanted to challenge myself more, and I had amazing years in Linköping, but I was starting to get really comfortable and really safe there. And I think I am personally at my best when I'm being challenged all the time. So I knew early in that year, 2017, that I wanted to look somewhere else. And I wouldn't want to move somewhere else in Sweden. So my eyes were on abroad and on England, on Germany and on France. And then Chelsea showed interest, and the more I thought of it, the more it felt like a perfect match. And then in the summer after the Euros, I left Linköping and went to Chelsea. So it was obviously really, really hard to leave Linköping in the middle of a season. But I think sometimes in your career you have to be a little bit selfish and put yourself first. And this was just an opportunity I couldn't say no to.
And that was the summer, right? Because when you say middle of Linköping, that means summer or start of that season. How many of you guys left Linköping that summer? I felt like I came, so a year and a half, and I was like, man, this league is so good. And then it was like,
yeah,
of you guys left.
It was crazy. After that year, 2016, I think there were at least 4 or 5 players, like really good starting players, who left.
Yeah.
Then in the summer, the following summer, a couple more left, and then 6 months later, basically the whole starting 11 from the 2016 year had left. Really sad, but then also really good proof of how good that team was, that everyone went to other top teams in Europe, really.
I mean, that winter when I signed at Wolfsburg, it was me, Claudia, and Chris, and they're both Linköping. I mean, credit to Martin too. I mean, you guys were definitely quite world class. Okay, going on. You won the double in your first season at Chelsea. Given the competitiveness and standard of other clubs in England, just how big of an achievement was that?
Looking back on it, it's definitely a massive achievement. I think for me, coming into everything, I was just trying to find my own role in the team, and just I was so focusing on myself that all of a sudden we had won the league and the double, and I was like, oh, okay. So I think now looking back on it and knowing how hard it is to win in this country, it's a massive achievement. But then I kind of took it almost for granted, because I was used to being in kind of that position as well in Sweden. But now looking back, it's like, wow, it's so hard, because it's such a competitive league, and there are really 3 teams who are so close to each other, and any team could win any year.
And do you have from Sweden to London, did your pre-game ritual change at all? Do you have something that, some players have to put your left shin guard on before your right? Do you have a set routine, or is it kind of, you're ready, let's go play?
Yeah, I think I definitely had a routine in Sweden, because there I knew everything, and I was so safe and secure, and I had my routines. But coming to England, the whole way of preparing for game, they changed, and what we do in warm-up, everything just changed. So then I felt like, okay, those things aren't actually as important as I thought. So coming to England, I actually got rid of the routines that I had. But in Linköping, I wanted everything to be cleaned in my apartment. So I always just walked around and cleaned my apartment the whole day before a game. So that was something. But now it's that's not an issue anymore.
How would you describe your captaincy style, and does it accurately reflect you as a human being?
I definitely think it would be weird if it didn't reflect how I am as a human. Then I think you're playing a role. I think the most important thing with being a captain is actually to be yourself, to not try to be something that you're not, because you're chosen because of who you are, and that's what you should just enhance those qualities that you already have. So for me, it was the official role is to be the link between the team and the staff. So I'm just trying to be that link that goes in between the both settings, and trying to make it an optimal setting for everyone. But then also I think it's really important to just be a role model in how you are with human beings. Say if we have youngsters coming up training with us, how you treat them, how you treat fans, how you treat everyone around you, really. And also always talking about accepting everyone's differences, and actually loving that we are all different. We all come from different cultures. We shouldn't all just be fitting into this box. But I think a successful team is a team that allows people to be who they are and to just flourish in themselves. I think for me that is just a massive thing.
Maybe after you do football, you're gonna be like in politics. It sounds like you'd be quite the good mayor, or you know.
I don't know about that.
Okay. From the stats available, it doesn't look. I'm actually surprised by this, to be fair, because I've seen you when you get upset, which is a positive thing when you compete. From the stats available, it doesn't look like you've ever been sent off in a professional game. Is that true? So no red cards.
I think that's actually true. Yeah, I think a lot of people are surprised by that.
I mean, also as a center back, sometimes you have to make a hard choice, you know. So
yeah, I have got a lot of yellows in my career, but I got a red, I think.
Knock on wood for this year, okay? How has lockdown been for you? Have you stayed fit without the motivation of like a deadline return? So this was more in the earlier summer. And then a lot of people asked about a quarantine table tennis championship. Was that with you and P, or?
That was with me and Jonna. Yeah. Okay, I can answer that lastly. So yeah, for me, I think I had different, like, because lockdown or the time away from football was so long. So it was like I broke it. It almost, looking back on it, I can break it into different stages. So first stage, when we didn't know how long it was going to be, but didn't expect it to be too long, I was almost relieved, because the way my body felt during the Algarve Cup and before that, I was so tired and I had so many small like niggles and issues in my body. So I was like, okay, this could be gold for me to be able to recover for the Olympics in the summer. But then time evolved and it was like, okay, we're a month in and it's not looking like Olympics is going to happen. It's not looking great for the league. And then I think that was when the motivation of training on your own started to be kind of hard to motivate yourself, because you didn't know what was going on. Like, what am I actually training for? But then once we knew what was going to happen, I think that's when my motivation really just took off, and I could just focus 100% of my energy on getting ready for this pre-season now. Training with you and Babs helped me a lot to get ready and to stay fit. And then now I got rid of all of the small issues that I've had in my body, and I just feel like I'm so ready for next season. So I'm trying to see it as a positive thing in the end, although it was definitely difficult as well. I think after the World Cup as well, we only had a few weeks, and then it was straight into everything again, and my fatigue kind of caught up to me in Algarve Cup, and I was just so drained, so tired. So in that way, I think this came, for me personally, it was good to get a little bit of a break. And then the table tennis championship, I actually won pretty, like, yeah. I mean, Jonna was really good, but then I think she lost her head, and then I started winning and winning and winning, and So if Jonna is watching this, I'm waiting for a rematch.
There you go, folks. Okay, you awarded the league title by default this year on points per game basis. How did it feel for you and your teammates?
Oh, it was really strange. We found out over a Zoom call with Emma and the rest of the team, and I almost felt blank. Like I couldn't feel anything, because I don't think it's the title that you're actually after. It's like the feeling or the celebration of it within the team. And we all know, like, if you win a league 3 or 4 games in advance and then you're given the trophy, it's not that same feeling as if you win it in the last game of the season, for example. So you can't really fake that emotion of like euphoria and happiness. And I didn't really feel that. Also because there were so many games left. I think it could have gone either way, and I think we're realistic and humble enough to acknowledge that it could have gone either way because it was so tight. So we're happy, of course, but we want to win it the proper way, and that's what we are aiming for this season.
I think people also need to understand that you guys didn't want it to end this way either. I mean, you've secured Champions League, you won the league title, of course, it's a huge honor, but people also need to understand, like, no footballer wants this. You want to do it, like you said, you've earned it, you have the right, but granted, another way. You guys didn't lose or tie, right, to the other top 3 teams?
No, we tied City the last game.
So, I mean, everything has to be taken with a grain of salt.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest emotion was the disappointment of the league not finishing the league, and also when I was so certain because of the men that they were gonna finish, I thought that we were gonna finish too, and then I started realizing that okay, we're actually not gonna finish, and I felt like that was a massive blow to what I had expected, that England and the women's game where it was in England. So that was a big disappointment, but now it looks like they've really taken control of the situation and like I said, tested twice a week. That's the same for every team in the league. So, yeah.
At Chelsea, there's a winning culture that seems to run through the both men's and women's team. And I'm not a fan of the men's teams here, so this is kind of hard for me to state this here. So, is there any rivalry between the two, you and the men's team, and how important is it that the women's team are fully incorporated into and supported by the club?
Definitely no rivalry at all. It's mainly just we know that if the men is successful, then the club is successful, and they also acknowledge ours when we are successful. So I have never felt that at all. Every year we feel like we're more and more appreciated, and we're more and more into the whole club and closer to the men in the settings that we're getting. But obviously there is still a hierarchy that we can feel, which is how it is. I think, and we're hoping to keep pushing and to keep the women's game moving forward and getting closer and closer. But there's going to be a massive difference in wages and all of those things. We are aware of that, but the way that the club is giving us like 2 perfect pitches, a really good facility with a good gym, I think those things are just top professional if you compare with the other teams in the women's game.
So really cool. I mean, they kind of really paved the way the last 5 years to set the standard. And now you can really see all the other clubs in England, like Arsenal. You guys have your kit releases together, and it's really, I mean, I think the FAWSL in years to come will be the place to go because you have that foundation, and then you have the men's clubs coming in and offering you guys these world-class facilities, these world-class opportunities, and you just can't really compete. I mean, you can see it here with Real Madrid, from going from Tacon last year to Real. In one day, there was 150,000 people that signed their Instagram account just because of the name alone, and people knew it was coming. You know, you can't, when you start alone with a women's club, you just don't have that history, that backbone, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And we shouldn't be ashamed of that. Like,
no,
it is about because we haven't been allowed to play at the level that we wanted, and now we are, and now we need all the backing that we can get. So I think it's nothing to be ashamed of. That's just how it is. And like you said, in England, I think it's amazing to see how every team is pushing each other. So if Arsenal hears that Chelsea are doing something or getting something, then they want to do that, and they want to get better, and then Chelsea want to get better, and it's starting to be going like this. So I think, it's really an inspiring place to be right now.
And last question, do you like your new kits, your new jerseys? 3 on there.
3. I actually really like it. It was different at first because I'm so used to the Yokohama, but then now that I've watched the men play and see the kit on them, I think it looks really like clean and fresh.
It's dark blue and then light blue, right?
Yeah, light blue is the away kit with like small details on it. Yeah. For me it'd be a sweating nightmare, but hopefully for you guys it's gonna be fine. What was the biggest lesson you took away from winning the U19 Euros in 2012? I think it was just like experiencing how a tournament, because really the framework of the tournament is the same as an international or a senior tournament. So I think that's definitely just when I played my first senior tournament in the Olympics. Obviously, Olympics is a bit different, but it was familiar with the setup and how everything works. And I think it's just also, it was the first gold medal I won, like a proper gold medal. And it just, of course, that winning feeling, you want to just, it becomes the new standard. So that's what you want to do all the time.
This is kind of 2 in 1. Do you remember your debut for Sweden? And also, does captaining your country feel different to captaining your club?
Yeah, I remember my debut. It was we were 3-0 down to France away, and I came in for like 1 minute. I think I touched the ball one time. So yeah, I remember my dad was like, "Wow, that touch was really good." I was like, "Thanks." But he actually meant it. I was like, "Oh, thanks." So no, I mean that we all have to have that kind of debut where it's just, it is what it is. I think Pernille actually had a debut where she scored a hat-trick, and of course, I'm like, we can all be like that. So I'll take what I get. And what was the other thing?
Your country and your club.
Yeah, because in Chelsea, I'm not the captain in the national team, so I think whenever I get the armband, it's a huge honor, of course, but it's still, I know Sege is the captain, and I see her as my captain for the team. Yeah, for the club, it's just been a massive honor, and also just feeling the support of everyone around it. I think being a captain in England is a massive thing. It was a lot bigger than I expected, because in Sweden, it's more like we want everyone to be equal, and it's not like a captain is higher than anyone else, but in England, it is like, it's really a big role, apparently. So it's been nice to feel the support from the fans and yeah, the club.
I think that's also the history. I mean, English history, if you're the captain, you're the skipper, it just means so much more. Like you said, you're not asking for the hierarchy, but there is a hierarchy.
Yeah, it's at least very different from Sweden.
Yeah. What were your expectations as a team when heading into Rio 2016?
Well, not high for me. I mean, the way we had to qualify was by going to Holland and or the Netherlands and play a qualification there between us, Norway, Holland, and Switzerland to even qualify, because we all ended up in the same stage in the World Cup the year before.
Yeah.
So we kind of took the last spot in the Olympics. So we had no expectations at all. I think we were all just really, or at least for my personal experience, I was just excited to experience Olympics and just the whole thing, and living in an Olympic village with thousands of other athletes from different sports. So I think maybe that's why we were so successful, that we had no expectations on ourselves. We just tried to do the best that we could do, and we knew we could defend, we knew we could run for each other, we had a great team spirit, and that managed to take us a really long way.
I agree, but I don't think people understand that. As an American, for example, we have like the small tournament where we play Mexico, Canada, and then 2.5 go through. I mean, you said you, Holland, Norway, and Switzerland were playing for one spot.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, those are 4 top teams in Europe. For me, it's like when you really break it down, because it's the top 2 teams in the World Cup get to go to Olympics of women's European football, right?
Yeah, I think it's 3 teams.
3 teams.
Germany and France had already
qualified,
and then there was one last spot that we had to fight for.
Okay, so, and then going to the next Olympics, it's you guys, Holland,
and England. Yeah.
Right.
So that was. We knew that in the World Cup last summer, we were like, okay, we have to beat Germany to be able to go to the Olympics. And then France also got knocked out by the US. I mean, that's 2 of the best teams in the world not going to the Olympics.
And when you guys beat Germany, that was the first time in 19 years or something crazy like that, right?
Yeah, I don't know if they've ever beaten Germany in any knockout game ever.
Yeah.
They've always played them either in a final and lost, or semi-final, or
Not to bring up some bad memories here, but how do you pick yourself up after losing in the Olympic final?
like I said, I think I was so young at that time. I was just at the point where I was just happy to be there. I thought it was so cool that we had a silver medal. I was not there in my mind that I was hardly disappointed even, which is crazy thinking of it now. I was super disappointed in the World Cup not going to the final. But I think I was just in that stage of my career, the senior national team felt like such a big step. So just being in the squad, being selected for the Olympics, getting some playing time was enough for me. But I know other players, the more senior players, were really, really disappointed, of course.
Does experience years prepare you for a World Cup? Or in the World Cup another level? Or is the World Cup another level of pressure and skill altogether?
No, it's definitely a good preparation, like the Olympics and the Euros. I think, like I said, the Olympics was my first senior tournament, and then I learned all the highs and lows of a tournament and what can go wrong. I think I had a situation that was like really tough for me mentally. So we played Brazil in the group stage of the Olympics, and we were 3-0 down at halftime. I had made a penalty on Christiane, and I got subbed out at halftime. So I was like, that's like, oh, as a defender, that's not what you want. And then I think we ended up losing 5-1 or 4-1. So it was still like, obviously it wasn't on me, but I think as how I react to things like this as a player, I think it's my fault. We were 3-0 down because of me, and I think they wrote stuff in media as well that I wanted to read, and then I noticed like, okay, I'm not going to read things in a tournament again, because it can only go bad. If they praise you, you don't think of it, but if they write something bad about your performance, it just gets stuck in your mind. So since then I've learned I don't read media when I'm in a tournament. I try to focus on myself and talk to the right people, my people that I know I can talk to, that I know gives me good advices. And yeah, I think it's just such a learning experience. And I'm in hindsight, I'm really happy that I did experience that, because you have to go through those moments in your career to come out stronger.
I don't think a lot of people realize that as athletes, how much that media pressure can weigh on you if you read it, because even if you're human, and it's a lot of hard things to kind of digest, especially as a younger player, younger-ish, and your first big tournament, it's a lot of people that could break them, because then you have to just find a way to keep going. Like you said, I think women's football or men's football, it's so important to have your circle, and then you just have to, try your best to not listen to all the other stuff that comes in. But speaking of the ups and downs, a lot is often made of how difficult it is for players, male and female, during the extended period of a World Cup. Was that your experience?
I think experiencing the World Cup last summer, it was really like a little bubble. We were so protected in that bubble, and we had such a good, like, it feels cliche to say it, but it was such a good environment to be in. We were so safe. We were basically all day playing board games and chilling with each other outside, the whole team. Like, no one was isolated or there were no cliques. Like, we had a common area where everyone was, and we just didn't talk about the games, didn't talk about football. We just played games and had fun. And then once it was training, once it was meetings or games, we were 100% focused, because we could switch off. And also they were really accepted of seeing your relatives or partners during the World Cup. So I could go and see Pernille basically whenever I wanted, if I just spoke to the manager before. And I think that is also something that's really big. Like, if I felt I needed a break, instead of taking it out on someone in the team, I could go and see Pernille and just talk to her about everything I felt. So in that way, we didn't bring each other down. Like, when I was with my team, I could be the best version of myself, and then Pernille got the bad side.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also interesting to talk about. You guys were playing for the final, and then you lost. So then how does the mentality going into that third place game? I mean, how did you guys? Were you saying, we're going to win this, we're going to go home? Because I know a lot of people maybe would just say, it's third place, we've done enough, we're done? Like, how did you guys stay really mentally motivated and in it to win the third place, the silver?
I think we had to give it time. It wasn't like we were ready the morning after the game, because we were in extra time as well. So we were really tired and really drained. We were so close. We all felt that. I think especially the more senior players who have been in World Cups before, they were really, really disappointed. I think they've never been this close to reaching a final before.
Yeah.
So for them, it was extra hard. But I think that because of this, the way that we had it, how we could manage to stay mentally fresh the whole time, even though it was such a draining tournament, physically, mentally, we were quite fresh because of how we dealt with it outside of training and meetings and games. So I think it was like some time after, the day after the game against the Netherlands, we started to be like, okay, we've reached this point. We're not going home without a medal. That medal is ours. And we just kind of fooled ourselves into being fresh enough to do it, even though we were all so tired. And we knew England had another day to rest and also didn't have extra time in their legs. So I think that also made us physically prepare even more, and we were really aware that could be a factor in their benefit.
Right.
And then I think we played the best football we've ever played for the first 25 minutes of that game, and we were 2-0 up, and then I think our energy just we just ran out of energy, and then we just managed to stick with the result for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Last question about P here. You and P are role models for lots of young women and help by being very honest in interviews. Why is it important for you to speak so openly about your personal life?
I think it just comes natural to us. We've been, like, from the start on social media starting, we were quite open about our relationship, just because I don't think we, at that point in time, none of us were big players really. So we didn't do it to be role models or to set an example. We just did it because it felt natural to us, and that's how we would have been. If I was with a guy, I would have done the same, or another girl that's not in football, I would have done it. So why not do it now? So I think that was the starting point. And then as both of our careers and our platforms has got bigger, we've started to realize what a positive effect we have on other people's lives. So it's just enhanced really from getting a bigger platform, and we're just trying to be ourselves. That's all.
Last question here. When you retire, how do you hope people will remember you as a player?
Winner.
I think you've done well. I think you've set yourself up nicely for that one. So I appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time. We'll be in touch. Thanks again.
Yeah. Take care. Bye.